Hello. In the process of your writing reports, you will also have to prepare bibliography. Bibliography is mandatory. Bibliography and ethics in communication are related because while preparing the bibliography, you are giving credit to the people whose research you have used, whose work you have used or sourced as a source in your research work. So it is ethically correct that you give some credit to the people whose research you have used in your own research work. As we all know, that every research is based on previous researches. You do not, once you have come up with the problem, you first go through what all other people have researched and come up with. You might agree with some and you might not agree with some. So the ones you agree with, you will probably use in your own research, and then your own research might also be directed to bring out the factors which for which you disagree with the other people's research. Anyhow, the basic point is that your research is based upon previous research. The research of other people is your secondary data. It is one of your source which helps you with your research work. So the researchers begin their work after reviewing the existing researchers in that particular domain, in that particular field, and in that particular topic. So it has become a convention. It is not just a convention, it is a rule these now that you have to acknowledge the existing research. Without acknowledging the existing research, you it becomes plagiarism. Plagiarism is that you have stolen. It is an intellectual theft that you have committed. So whenever you use any, even if it is just a phrase, it is just a sentence or two sentences that you are using in your research, which are picked up from another person's research or the existing research, or with existing research is also known as extant research, then you have to acknowledge it in your bibliography. Your bibliography, you list the number of the people whose research you have used as a source for your own work. So that is an ethical, this is ethical now these days to use it. And there are legal issues. You can be um, you are legally bound to mention it, because if you do not, everybody who has a written, or and especially if they've published their research work, then they have their own copyright. The copyright is theirs. And if you use it without giving acknowledging it in the end in your bibliography, then you are they can sue you for using their work without acknowledging it. And that is intellectual theft, and this comes under plagiarism. So using others ideas, views, expressions, quotations without giving due credit is called plagiarism. In the bibliography, you include only those sources that are actually cited in your report, and the ones which you have read. Maybe you will go through a lot of sources. You will go through a lot of text while you're doing your research, but you will not necessarily write all of them. You will not necessarily mention all of them. You will mention only those who you have cited, you have written down and copied. It could be the definitions, it could be quotations, it could be a whole paragraph, it could be more than that, it could be the diagram, etc. Anything. So you have to cite anything which you have written down in your report. Only those sources then you which you have cited in your report, you will mention in your bibliography. Even the internet sources, these days most of the information, in fact quite a bit of information is available on the net. So you all those internet sources that you also use will also be cited. Now, bibliography by definition is a list of published and unpublished work which have been used by the report writer. So the whole all of them will be mentioned over there. Sometimes bibliographies in case of research work, they can go on to around 15-20 pages, even more than that, because during your research work could be 200 to 300 pages. You go through so much stuff, you go through so much material, and you might have used the information from so many sources, so many resources. So all those you will have to mention. The list, remember, is arranged in an alphabetical order. The managerial ethics focuses on moral judgments about the rightness and wrongness in sending the message, selecting the media, listening and receiving the message, and in the feedback. Now we know managerial, we are talking about managerial communication. We'll discuss this more in later, the second half of the lecture. Managerial ethics is that whenever you're communicating, please, it is better, it is good, it is ethical that you are communicating the right thing, the correct thing, an honest opinion. And honest opinion, the rightness and the wrongness in the sending. If it is an incorrect, you are trying to spread any miscommunication purposely, intentionally, to create some problems in the organization. It could be a rumor, or it could be so that for your own benefit, it is advantageous for you that people start thinking negatively about a person. So you start communicating with people about negatively about that individual and cook up stories or etc. So that kind of a communication is wrong. Besides that, when you are communicating, if it is appropriate and it is correct that you have to communicate with the person, with your superior, you have to give him a written report. And if you do not choose you just tell him orally, then you are not completing your task. Number one, your work is not finished. Then he might deny that you did not do that. He might forget about it, or he intentionally might deny that. So for various reasons, it is important that you choose the correct media also for your communication in an organization, and try and go for ethical communication, because that only enhances your credibility. Now, according to internationally accepted standards, the sources which are to be listed in the following way: books, any book you have recommended, any text that you have taken or content you have taken from a book, you have to mention. In case of books, you have to mention the author's name. First comes the author's name alphabetically. Next, you will write the title of the book. Third, you will write the place of publication. Then will be the publisher's name. Next is the year of publication. This is the way you are supposed to write in your bibliography. Next is this is an example of how you have to write. And now a lot of time there are various international standards of international structures of writing your bibliography. It could be, there are Chicago style of writing a bibliography, then there is another style, the American style of writing your bibliography. So there are various structures, which all of them have the different rules and regulations. So this is following the most popular, the Chicago style of writing your bibliography. In this is the way you have to write. This is just an example that I have given you. You have to use periods. Periods is a full stop, a comma, etc. The year you have to write in your brackets. Now the name of the book is to be written in italics, so that it comes out more clearly. So this is the sequence you have to follow. This is the structure that you have to follow, and this is just one example which I have shown over here. Now next is, if you are citing an article from a scholarly, which you have taken from a journal, a scholarly journal, that is, which are journals, these are journals which are written by scholars or researchers. Their articles are published in various such, these are not the regular magazines, but only for the people who are interested in that particular topic. So again, in this case also, you will first write the author's name, title of the article, title of the journal, volume numbers, year of publication, then the page number of the article. Now the page number of the article, the page on which the article begins, then you put a hyphen, and then the number on which the article ends. This is how it is to be written. Now for example, this is one example. I'm sorry, there is a printing error. This Journal of Business Communication will go along with it. It is to be written attached to this. The first, it will be written Isira James. Are they speaking English in Japan? This is the title of the article. Then in this case, this is the title of the journal, the Journal of Business Communication. This has to be written in italics. Italics, that is 36, the number 4 and the year, and then the page number 72 to 74. This will come, both these two last 2 points will come in one single sentence or one single continuation of a sentence. So there is an error in this typing. Now, newspaper or magazine articles. In this situation, the when you have cited your source is a newspaper or a magazine article, the first thing that will be the author's name, the title of the book. Next, this will be followed by the title of the periodical. This will be followed by the title of the publishing, and this will be inclusive page number of the article. The page number on which the article has been written. Now, an example. For example, in this I have seen this is the title of the book, and the article in which the newspaper in which it was written, the date and the page number. Now, in case you have taken up material or content and context from internet sources, then you will come up with the author's name first. This will be followed by the title of the document. This will be followed by full information about any previous or simultaneous publication in the print form. The title of the scholarly project, database, periodical or professional or personal sites. Name of the editor of the scholarly project or database. Data of electronic publishing, last updated. Name of institution or organization sponsoring associated with the site. Date when you assess the source, and the network address of the URL. URL is the network address for where you have taken down the material. Now, in case there are two or more books by the same author, if you have using one author has written various books. Most of the authors, the old researchers and the people who write books tend to write more than that. And if you have taken their text from different books, then how will you write that in your bibliography? Give the name of the author in the first entry only. In the subsequent entries, in place of the name, type 3 hyphens followed by a period and the title. If the person named edited, translated or compiled the book, then place a comma and not a period. Period is a full stop after the 3 hyphens, and write the appropriate abbreviation before giving the title. If the same person edited 2 or more works listed consecutively, the abbreviation must be repeated with each entries. Now, after the bibliography, we move on to the ethics in managerial communication. Ethics is your code of conduct, the way you conduct yourself in all fields. It could be in your organization, in your home front, or in any other field. So, in case of managerial communication, how you conduct yourself, that will be part of your ethics. Ethics in managerial communication, it focuses on two different dimensions. One is the technological perspective. I'm sorry, this is not technological, this is teleological perspective, and teleological perspective and the deontological perspective. Teleological perspective is based on the concept where the evaluation of action in terms of consequences that can produce greatest good for the greatest number of people. Now, this is when you are trying to do things, the consequences of your whatever actions you are taking will benefit a maximum number of people, a large number of groups. And in case of the deontological system of ethical behavior, this says that the rightness or wrongness of behavior can be judged. Means even if the behavior is wrong and it benefits large number of people, then it is right. So this is the demarcation, that if you lie or if you do something, any action that you have done, and it in the long run it benefits a large number of people, then it is justified. Whereas the theological perspective says that there are no such demarcations, that if good is good, if the good is for a large number of people, then it's going to benefit those number of people. Now, there are four basic principles of adoption in cross-cultural communication. When you are communicating with people of various cultures, you are, for example, it could be Americans or Japanese, etc. Then, number one, you have to, what do you have to do? How do you do that? Actively seek mutual ground. To try and develop a communication or a conversation with people with mutual ground. That is, you come up to try and speak in their way, try and at least know what are their norms, what are the nonverbal cues that they accept and they reject, and and if you try and follow them some, for example, if people do not like too much uh, space, if they do not want to be very close to you, or they do not like people hugging them, and if their non-verbal cue, they do not mean no by this, their understanding of shaking of the head is different, their understanding of their closeness or a hug is different. So you have to try and develop something like that. You have to develop a knowledge basically about all their non-verbal cues, and try and develop and communicate like that. Now, in Japanese and Americans, for example, they differ. They are of different contexts, like we call the high context and the low context. The Japanese, they believe in more. When they are committing to something, they will not go into the too many details in the beginning. They will go into the details at the end. And Americans, on the other hand, when they commit to something, they want each and every detail outlined, planned out, even at the beginning of the communication, or beginning, right in the beginning. And they would, even when they are trying to communicate to you, they will tell you each and every detail. So this is to be done, this in manner, this much time frame, the date, etc. Everything will be given to you in great details, which is not so in Japanese. This is how they differ. So these kind of differences you will have to work out and function out, and so that when you're communicating with them, you also try and follow these details and um, these kind of cues. Now, when you send and receive message, receive it without judgment. Receiving without judgment means do not try have any perception. Your perception can uh, draw mental blocks in your mind. You might have a perception that certain cultural people behave in a certain manner, so I am not interested in talking to them. Even if they are behaving in a different manner at that particular time, your own perception will draw the lines or push you or pull you back for the communication process. So try and block out any perceptional notions that you have about particular culture. So that is one thing, that when you are going and doing business with those people, number one, you have to understand their cultural background. You have to understand the non-verbal communication skills, and even the other communication skills that they usually use, or they are because which are specifically because of them. And any biases, number two, if you have in your mind about the cultural, the race or the people, the gender, then try and avoid that and do the communication or go through the communication process in a very balanced manner. Send messages that are honest. Inhonesty is very highly unethical, and it shows, if supposing it is caught, it shows very negatively on you. You will lose face and your credibility in front of your whole organization, as well as in front of the people. And show respect for other cultures, because whatever perceptions you have, it is important to show your respect to the culture, that yes, this is your culture, and this is, we understand, and we are ready, for give it the due respect that it needs. Now, these are Thomas Donaldson's 10 rights for the employees in the business without violating human rights. One is freedom of physical right, then equal ownership rights, freedom from torture, fair trial in case of misconduct, No discrimination on the basis of sex, race, and religion. Now, this happens pretty rampantly in the organization, that there is a bias. There is a bias because of the sex. Of, for example, that this is a she's a female. You must have seen this kind of a bias for female drivers. That okay, she's a lady driver, she will definitely drive bad. So that's these kind of biases people have. Similarly, they also have biases for the race and the religion. So according to the rules of the rights of the employees, any if you feel that any person is showing bias towards you or being prejudiced towards you and not giving you, say, promotion or increment or anything because of your sex or because of your race or because of your religion, you have every right to complain. Freedom of speech, you have, every employee has the freedom of speech to speak and to come up with any complaints they have, any problems they are facing in the organization or anything. The freedom of speech is not just restricted to the country level also, but even in an organization, people usually tend to avoid coming up with the problems, the grievances that they are facing in the organization, because they are scared to lose their job. So but as rule, as per one of the employees right, you do have a physical freedom of speech. Physical security, while you're working within the organization, the security is the organization's responsibility, and if they are responsible for your commuting and your traveling, again that is also, if they are responsible for it, that is, it is their responsibility. Minimal education, participation in politics, subsistence. Now subsistence is that the salary that they are giving you should be enough for you to sustain yourself, that you can exist, survive on the whatever is being provided by you by the organization. And plus, when you're working in the organization, the sustained subsistence, that is your electricity, the comfort of your functioning, so that you can work uh, well within the organization or the office, the physical structure, the physical aspect, it is their responsibility. Now, moving on to the ethical code in managerial communication. Maintain confidentiality of information. Never use official information for personal purposes. Do not offend the cultural values of others. Respect the sentiments of others. Be honest and impartial. Never distort facts, because distort people tend to distort facts, whatever they are hearing or listening. This is called filtration. A filtration, as a part of filtration, either they accept or receive mentally only part of the facts, and there are others they do not pay attention to. So never distort facts. Follow the best tradition in the managerial profession. Do not criticize the communication of others. If other people are communicating, if you find flaws in them, if their communication, there are pronunciation errors or any other grammatical mistakes, then even if you are seeing them or acknowledging them or noticing them, it is best to keep quiet. It is the job of the superiors or the to take care of that, and not yours. So just do not. And even if you do have to criticize, it is best to talk about it in when only the individual is there, and not in public, because public humiliation is not a very nice thing and not a pleasant thing for the person. Use technology to speed up communication. These days, information technology has really speeded up the process of communication. There is um, internet, then there are the cell phones, and there are the fax machines, and there is the video conferencing, etc. So many ways of speeding up the process of communication. Be honest while preparing cost estimates. Listen and reply. Do not negatively to do not react negatively to negative feedback. If you're getting a negative feedback, do not lose your temper, and do not just lose your temper and react negatively and think that okay, take a negative feedback positively. If you're getting a negative feedback, that means maybe first think, sit down and think that if there is something seriously actually wrong, maybe you are not doing the things as per the requirement, maybe there is something wrong, you need to change a little bit. First think about it, take it as a positive criticism, take it positively and try and improve upon it, because if the person is maybe the person does have more knowledge than you do, they are seeing things from a different perspective, and they would, if they are trying to guide you and train you in a improve your whole way of functioning or working, then use it positively rather than negatively. Now, to summarize, research is usually built on already existing research work. The research contributions used in the new research should be acknowledged. Now, bibliographies are a list of publications cited in research papers, books, articles, scholarly journals, newspapers, or magazines, or accessed through the internet. Now, it is ethical that you give due credit to all the people's sources that you have used, any research work that you have used in your own research. So, the ethical and moral dilemma is a crucial question in all spheres of activity. Following an ethical code becomes an inevitable task for those taking part in the managerial communication. Now, giving due credit to the resources you have sources that you have used for your own research is mandatory. It is legally you are bound to give credit to them. Otherwise, it is definitely plagiarism or theft of the intellectual resources, and you can be sued for it. So that will be all. Thank you.